Hi, I'm Madison Ricks, and this is my husband, Baxter.
Hi, thanks for coming in today. I know you have some questions about school placement for your children. What exactly were you wanting to discuss today?
We're interested in getting information about educational programs for our 3 children with different hearing losses. They each have their own separate educational needs, and we're unsure about what type of program would be best for them individually and for us as a family.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just give you a quick description of the different educational programs available to children with hearing losses and maybe some advantages and disadvantages to each program. Please feel free to ask any questions while I'm talking. To start out, there are residential and day school programs which are specifically designed for deaf students. Students at residential schools and day programs have complete access to trained deaf educators, and they have a huge group of deaf peers, which can really help them develop a positive outlook on being deaf, and they have tons of people to relate to. There's tons of resources available to children at residential and day schools because its main focus is educating the deaf and hard of hearing.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love that my children would have so many trained deaf educators to help them learn successfully, but would my child have the same opportunities to play sports and go on field trips, and would they have to live somewhere else?
They would have a lot of the same opportunities to play sports. There's tons of sports teams and go on field trips and do stuff like that. But unfortunately, if you do not live in an area with a residential or day school program, they will have to travel there for the week and will usually come home, whether by bus or whatever, for the weekends. And this can be really hard on families, especially close families, because, they don't have their child for the entire week. So if you do happen to live in the same city as a day school program, that's awesome because it gives you all the same benefits as residential schools. But if you don't live in the same city, you're sort of out of luck. Both of these programs really cater to deaf children, and they get to use ASL, and they also get to work on oral communication. And they kind of get all the resources really needed.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm really concerned about my children being separated from me for the entire week. Is there an option that's more accessible?
Regular education programs actually are really accessible because it's essentially you just have to be able to find a public school.
Okay.
Some school systems only have one school that caters to deaf students and has the resources that needed, but some programs have tons of schools that you can do. In this type of program, a child will attend a school and go to classes with hearing students.
Well, would they spend the entire day in general education classes? Are teachers trained to be deaf educators? And what services are available to deaf children?
There are several different ways that children can be included with hearing peers. Some students will spend the majority of their day in general education classes with hearing students and only go to separate classes to work on a few things. But on the other hand, some deaf students do more subjects in a separate classroom or resource room and only are in a general education class for 1 or 2 classes a day. The inclusion program really ensures that the children have all the resources that they need to truly be successful. They train educators to work with the needs of the children. They have interpreters and co-teachers that can kind of work as a group, and it's really great in this program because they are granted all the same educational opportunities as hearing peers and have all the opportunities for sports teams and field trips and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, my children have many deaf and hard of hearing peers to relate to. I don't want them feeling isolated and alone in school.
Unfortunately, many regular education programs and mainstream programs only have a small number of deaf students. This can really lead to feelings of isolation, and because they'll probably need a translator or interpreter most of the time, they don't feel comfortable expressing themselves truly, and they kind of feel like an outcast. This can lead to emotional distress and depression, which really can affect their ability to successfully learn.
Mm-hmm. How do I know which will be best for my children and my family?
Deciding on an educational route is super hard. Each of these programs has their advantages and disadvantages, and it's important no matter what to know that you have to work really hard with the staff and educators and your child to really help them have the best experience and ensure that they get the best education. I'll provide you with some more information, and I think you could really go home and really research and consider all the things that we've discussed today, and maybe next time we come together we can really discuss how each will benefit or not benefit each child. So please take the time to really research, because considering all your options will help you make the best informed decision.
Okay, well, thank you. Before we meet again, I'll definitely look through the brochures and do some online research about all the different options, and we'll go from there.